Welcome back into that Sean podcast. It is I, the Big Ush. It is he, that Cat Daddy. We got that energy back up. Cat Daddy. What's on your mind?
We had another wild and crazy week of the NFL offseason. We saw even more trades go down.
Yeah.
We saw the quarterback. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We saw the quarterback carousel spinning as fast as I think it ever has, and it almost came off the rails at a couple of points. And if you listen to our podcast, you know the names of more NFL players than Urban Meyer. Congratulations.
Ooh. All right, anyways, as we get into the mix, you know something? I'm always a big fan of pulling the Band-Aid off or ripping the tape off. So, as we get further ado, just like we did with me last week, even though I know we didn't jump into mine right away, but, I was, I had already come to terms. I don't know if you've come to terms yet, but, and yours is a little bit more significant. So, Cat Daddy over here is dealing with a loss. It hit him deep in his heart. Straight to the soul of his core. So, Cat Daddy, how about you talk about this first bit of news that we want to talk about?
Yeah, the initial shock. Once it wore off, I was good. But what we're talking about first, yeah, absolutely. What we're talking about first is the Green Bay Packers trading Davante Adams to the Las Vegas Raiders for a first and a second round draft pick in this upcoming draft. And my first thought was, last year, everybody thought the whole Last Dance theme after Davante and Aaron Rodgers had posted pictures online, everybody thought that was about Aaron Rodgers, or at least Aaron Rodgers' way of drawing attention to some situation. Turns out it was Davante's last dance. Ultimately, he wanted to be the highest paid wide receiver in football. The Green Bay Packers, at least then, were not willing to pay him the money that he so desired, and you could argue he deserved. They were far apart in contract negotiations. Even coming into this offseason, they reportedly were far apart. They weren't going to meet Davante's demands. They slapped the franchise tag on him. He says, I am not going to play on the franchise tag. And it's not just posturing. He legit was not going to play on the franchise tag. And Green Bay had really no other choice but to trade him. So they took that action. They traded him to the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders were giving Davante Adams the long-term contract he so desires, which comes out to be a 5-year, $141.25 million. Yeah. So he is becoming not just the highest paid wide receiver in football, he's becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in football. Now, Davante Adams, his agents came out and said Green Bay had offered the same amount, if not more, to keep Davante in Green Bay, but ultimately he chose the Raiders.
All right. One thing I will say, from stuff I've learned from you, shame on that Green Bay front office, treating him how they've treated him, because I get it with some, but this is a star player here. Regardless, maybe they know something we don't, but you don't treat this. This guy has put up buku numbers for years. And yeah, okay, some people might say that's the Aaron Rodgers effect. We don't know this. We'll find out this year. Now he's got his old quarterback, Derek Carr, throwing to him. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't have him. So let's see if there's a drop-off for either or. Now, let's be honest. Throughout the years, we've seen wide receivers come and go with Aaron Rodgers, and they don't do as well. other places, with the exception of Randall Cobb when he went to the Cowboys. Just wanted to throw that plug in. But no, honestly, like look at all the rest. Jordy Nelson, I know he was older, but he did what? Was it Greg Jennings did what?
James Jones.
James Jones did what? The only one I know of who's done any sort of numbers, and he actually had a really good season, and half his actual numbers. So some of his season would have been better if it wasn't for like Randall Cobb had like 4 touchdowns called back when he was on the Cowboys due to a penalty. It was wacky.
Yeah.
So
it seems like the Packers, whenever they have a player getting close to that 30-year mark, they typically will not receive another contract from Green Bay unless you're the quarterback, right? Unless you're Brett Favre, unless you're Aaron Rodgers. Typically, if you're approaching that 30 or you're on the wrong side of 30 for NFL purposes, you're not going to get another
with
contract.
pass rusher, right?
What's that?
I think they've done it with pass rusher or defensive lineman before, right?
They might have. They don't do it very often.
No.
And for the money that Davante Adams was looking at, it's hard to argue that they should have kept Adams. Now
At 28, he's 28, right?
I mean 29.
He's 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, when we've seen him play, he's been fantastic. But again, how much of this is Aaron Rodgers?
And that's what we're going to find out. I think the part of me that settled down and simmered down after the initial, hey, we just traded Davante Adams, like one of my favorite players, we just traded him to the Raiders. A couple of my thoughts were, if Green Bay did match the Raiders' offer, I'm curious at what point they matched it. Because for all we heard, they were very far apart in contract negotiations. Mm-hmm. And at one time, they had cut off communication, so they weren't talking at all. And I wonder if it was an offer that was too little too late. If Davante Adams had already felt disrespected for over a year that he hadn't received the extension, his contract expired, they have to put a franchise tag on him. He's like, all right, well, you can give me that money. Well, I feel the disrespect, so too little too late.
Here's one thing I want to say. I just want to parse this. All right, so this happened. A lot of Packer fans could be mad at Davante Adams, thinking that he could have stayed and he chose to leave. And you're one of the better ones to sit there and say, something. I respect the fact that it was more so a decision that he made due to being disrespected. But some Packer fans might be mad about this, and something, that's their right. And I know this probably should be words of wisdom, but I'm going to say it now because recently Randy Gregory took to social media. And there's a lot of Cowboys fans mad about Randy Gregory leaving. As they should be. I mean, the situation was not ideal. There's fault on both sides. Randy cannot get out of that unscathed, but he seems to be spoiled. Yes, I'm calling him spoiled. Spoiled enough to think that he is without fault here. And one of the clear things he said in it, and one of his statements was, your opinions don't pay my bills. And so it's like, something, Randy, you're right. A fan's opinion does not pay your bills, but his attendance in the seats do. His jersey sales that he bought your jersey for do. The concessions that he pays for, the TV revenue that they get from the fan watching you. You are nothing without the fans. So I'm sorry if it's one thing I'm full-fledged against. Unless a fan is doing something totally egregious, like threatening your family or your life, like they did to, I think it was Antonio Gibson the one year.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
And unless it's something like that, if a fan is criticizing you because you chose a different team over their team, deal with it. Because the fans are the only reason why you exist with a $70 million contract.
It's true. It's true. I'm not.
I'm sorry. It
mad.
just makes me mad when sports stars like go after fans. I don't care what they're doing unless they're getting out of line.
Yeah, I'm happy for Davante. He's getting paid. He's getting the money that he desired. He gets to play with his former college quarterback, and it sounds like it was always a dream for him to play for the Raiders. I think
Not
he
to
grew
mention,
up.
wow, does a year make a difference? Wow. The Raiders go from John Gruden to Josh McDaniels. And this is Derek Carr also. Goes from John Gruden to Josh McDaniels. From Henry Ruggs, basically as his number one receiver, to Davante Adams.
Yeah, if Gruden and Mayock were still in place, I don't think Davante lands with the Raiders. I don't think it happens.
Not to mention, now they know. I mean, you got to think McDaniels went there thinking that Hunter Renfrow, he was just seeing Wes Welker vibes from that.
Yeah.
You had to know that.
Absolutely.
Anyways, moving on to some more of the news.
I got two more thoughts for Davante. Just two more.
All right, make it quick, sir. Make it quick. We got more to get to.
So the first part is, one, the Packers need to address the wide receiver position this offseason, whether it's free agency, trading for one,
Come on now.
drafting.
We're going to be talking about this. This is first draft pick.
But I'm not concerned as much by losing Davante Adams, because you're thinking Davante Adams almost made the offense seem one-dimensional. That was always going to Davante Adams, and now it's going to force Rodgers and the offense to get more creative, more weapons.
And
I think
Amari
we might
Rodgers is talented. Come on.
just needs that time. But I think the running backs, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, I think they get an uptick in their work this year. Because I think
And the little guy.
LaFleur might try and run the ball more. And
the little guy, whoever the little dude, what's his name?
the little dude, wait, which one?
The third running back. He's like kind of a little dude.
Oh, Kylan Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't he like a little dude? Compared to the other two.
Little dude to get more work this year, too. And the second thing that makes me feel better about the trade is when Aaron Rodgers signs his restructure extension, whenever he signed, he already knew that Davante Adams was not going to be in Green Bay when he signs.
Yeah.
And he still chose to come back. And we're going to talk
So
about
get off his back, people.
we're going to talk about this quarterback carousel. And I know I messaged you earlier in the week, and I was like, it's crazy with all these moves that we've seen with quarterbacks going left and right in every other direction. Well, Aaron Rodgers stayed still. He stayed with Green Bay knowing Davante Adams was going to leave. And the Packers got a good deal. At first, I was like, you only got a first and a second for Davante. But then as we go through more of the transactions in this episode, we're going to hear quarterbacks that franchise piece, that most important player on the field, go for far less than what the Packers got. And in this year's draft, a 1 and a 2, that has some value.
Speaking of quarterbacks.
Nice transition. Yes.
And this is a blockbuster deal. And before we get into this, trigger alerts, people. Trigger alerts. We try not to get into the hoopla. Unfortunately, we may have to talk about some of it with this particular situation. We're not going to get into who's right, who's wrong, who's this, who's that. We're not going to get into details on whatnot, hoopla, bloop, blah. We're just going to keep it to the field. So just letting y'all know. Now, with that being said, time to get to business. And with business, the Houston Texans send Deshaun Watson to the Cleveland Browns for 3 first-round picks. I believe, is it a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick, or a 4th round pick?
So the deal is Houston sends Deshaun Watson, and they send a 2024 6th rounder to Cleveland. Now, in return, they get Cleveland's 1st and 4th this year,
Right.
1st and 3rd next year, and then 1st and 4th the year following.
Okay, it was another 4th. Then I think they had to send a 5th rounder then. I don't think it was a 6th rounder. I think it was a 5th rounder.
I'd have to double check on that, but I thought the last I looked it was a 6th round.
Now,
But yeah, it's a day 3 pick.
on top of that, Cleveland ups the ante on Deshaun's contract, making it basically $230 million guaranteed, which apparently in the case of a suspension, he gets paid anyway. The base salary for Cleveland's only $1 million. They massaged the NFL like no other. It may be despicable. Oh yeah. It may be despicable. You might not like it, but hey, hate the player, not hate the game, not the player.
Yeah, there we go.
Hate the game, not the player. Now, this being said, we already know Jarvis Landry was out, but Amari Cooper must be happy. We also know Baker wants out now, and Cleveland's willing to let Baker out. But Baker's one of these quarterbacks that's caught in limbo. Because, well, I'm going to let you talk about Deshaun before I get into Baker.
Yeah, from a pure football perspective, removing anything off the field, great move by Cleveland.
I don't think they're setting him on the bench.
Getting Watson, you're giving up 3 firsts, which is a high price to pay, but he has the potential to back it up.
One of the most hilarious thing about this is, do you know?
What's that?
Or the irony here. So Houston traded up in the 2017 draft?
They traded up with Cleveland, right?
Yes, that's what's funny. They traded up with Cleveland. Cleveland used those picks to basically make the team they have now, including Baker Mayfield. And Cleveland trades those some picks right back to them. Only thing I don't think that Cleveland's picks are the picks Cleveland traded to Houston are going to be as good as the ones that Cleveland got from Houston.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, good haul for Houston. If you collect 3 1s, that's a good deal. Houston came out ahead because they weren't playing Deshaun Watson anyways.
Right.
So
they didn't want Baker.
It's crazy.
It made so much sense because he's from Texas.
It's crazy how much Houston got in return considering the leverage. If nobody traded for Deshaun, he was just going to sit on the roster.
See, you say the leverage, but Cleveland didn't have any leverage. The deal was, this is the thing people don't realize, Deshaun was on his way to Atlanta. Did you know that?
I knew he had ruled out Cleveland a day or 2 ahead of time. And
No. He was on his way to Atlanta. Atlanta thought they had a deal in place. Atlanta had free agents set up. They had AJ Green, Jarvis Landry, and I think it was who else? There was one more that they had set up to sign with Atlanta if the trade with Deshaun happened. They were just finalizing how many picks they had to go because Deshaun was picked. And people don't know Deshaun Watson's from Atlanta. Well, he's from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And Cleveland came in at the 19th hour and said, "You want that? You want? We gonna pay money for you. We gonna give you that guaranteed contract." And that changed everything.
It did.
So that's what happened. They Cleveland wasn't negotiating with Houston; they were negotiating with Atlanta,
which works out in Houston's favor. And then Cleveland was very quick to go through additional quarterback changes because right after Deshaun Watson, they agreed to the trade for Watson. they sent backup quarterback Case Keenum to Buffalo in return for a 7th-round pick.
And they signed a backup quarterback.
And then they signed Jacoby Brissett to that backup deal. All the while, Baker Mayfield is still on the roster, and it makes me wonder, what leverage at this point does Cleveland have with trading Baker Mayfield?
None. Zero. Here's the thing.
They got to wait until training camp, maybe if a quarterback gets injured.
Baker, his whole leverage on anything went away because there's only one team that he could have went to, and that was the Indianapolis Colts. What did the Indianapolis Colts do? They called up Atlanta, and they were like, "Oh, Matt Ryan not happy."
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, once that Deshaun Watson domino fell over, everything else just toppled right into place. You're thinking Atlanta traded Matt Ryan to the Colts in return for a 3rd-round pick. Matt Ryan, right? It's not like he's bad. Atlanta as a whole just hasn't been good for the past couple of years. But it's not like Matt Ryan's bad, and all Indianapolis had to give up was a 3rd-round pick, which I think is a great deal for
No, I think they burnt the bridge. I think Matt Ryan was disgruntled, pissed off.
I think he wanted out too. Yeah, you're right.
Because, I mean, on top of that, $40 million in dead cap. Woo!
Yeah. They exceeded Carson Wentz from last season, who coincidentally and ironically was also traded to the Colts. And then as soon as Matt Ryan trade goes through, Atlanta's like, well, we need a quarterback. Arthur Smith is our head coach now. He used to coach Marcus Mariota back in the Tennessee days. So let's go ahead and sign Marcus Mariota to a 2-year deal.
No. But let's be honest. You know where this is going. I think I know where this is going.
It's just a bridge. That's all Marcus Mariota is. He's familiar with Arthur Smith's system.
Here's the thing.
They're going to draft a quarterback.
Seattle, if they want Malik Willis, they need to see the writing on the wall here. Because Malik Willis is literally from Atlanta. He has been blowing up. He blew up the Senior Bowl. Then he did really well at the Combine, especially from what I'm hearing in the interviews. Then he goes to his pro day, which I know you love, and he shines at his pro day. Hey, I'm just going on what other people do. That's how Zach Wilson did it.
I know.
Zach Wilson showed this amazing throw that everybody should throwing over and over and over. Malik Willis did the same thing.
The same thing. Malik Willis pulled out the bazooka. That's what it was.
So I'm sorry, the writing's on the wall here.
I think if anybody wants Malik Willis, because right now he's
trending in front of Atlanta.
But they also have to worry about Detroit, because now there's talk, there's speculation. We don't know if it's smoke or fire yet, but there's talk that Detroit could take Malik Willis at 2. Now, do I think this is smoke?
I think that's rich.
Right now, I think it's smoke, but what's it going to do? It's going to force teams to say, well, if we want him, now we have to jump up as high as number 2, or even if the talks become really serious, we have to trade with Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's got to be loving the situation.
But I'm going to say this. If Detroit does take Malik Willis, as much as I like Malik Willis, I think it's a mistake. I do. Atlanta makes so much more sense. Even Carolina would make sense, but Carolina has a love affair with Kenny Pickett. You see the writing on the wall there. You see the whole fact that Matt Rule recruited Kenny Pickett when they were in college. You see the writing on the wall where the owner of Carolina has ties to what? The Pittsburgh Panthers.
It's going to be a very interesting draft, and I still think that no rookie quarterback should be starting this season.
Onward bound, we have some more signings to speak about, maybe some more trades. Let's move on, jumping around. Let's give Cat Daddy some more heartburn in his chest. And let's talk about Zadarius Smith. Not only not signing with the Green Bay Packers, but signing with the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I think you could have palleted the Ravens or the Cowboys, but the Vikings?
I, you know, the after the Devontae Adams trade, okay, they got 20 million. They they tendered Alan Lazard. They re-signed Devondre Campbell. They re-signed Rasul Douglas. They re-signed Big Bob Tonyan. Like, they're making these good moves. I wanted them to re-sign Zadarius Smith. I wanted them to. Did I think they would or would be able to? I wasn't as optimistic as I wanted to be, because he had, what was the deal he had in place with Baltimore? The agreed on deal. It was like 4 years. It was like a $9 million per year deal. And then he backs out of it, and I'm thinking, all right, Green Bay's got a shot. And then he goes to Minnesota, and this whole time I thought, ever since Darius hit free agency, he very well could end up in Minnesota, because I believe they have on their defensive staff Mike Pettin, former defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and I believe they have Mike Smith, a former linebacker coach for the Green Bay Packers. I'd have to double check all that. But there's some connections where he had really good seasons with Green Bay, and I'm thinking that would be a really good landing spot for him if I were an NFL fan. But being a Green Bay fan, I'm like, I don't want to see him in the division.
He said being a Green Bay.
I don't want to face him twice a year. And unfortunately, Minnesota got the deal done. He signed with the Vikings. I don't think he's a traitor, okay? I was happy for what he did in Green Bay, for what he did for the team. He was a cap casualty, and he cashed in. And just like Devontae, good for him. I'm happy for him as an individual. As a Packer fan, I want the offensive line to put him in his place twice a year. And that's what it comes down to. That's what I want.
All right, some more news. Allen Robinson signs with the LA Rams, which pretty much shuts the door for Odell. And then
I don't know about that, because the Rams traded Robert Woods.
I get it, but still,
they're still trying to get Odell Beckham Jr.
back. Anyways, if you heard, Odell has opened the door to go back to Cleveland. Sorry, Odell, with some of the stuff you said. They don't want you. They just let your boy go. Stop it. Stop that noise. All right. But anyways, Robert Woods was traded to the Tennessee Titans, who released Julio Jones. This is nonsense.
A wide receiver carousel going on now, too.
Let's see. Before we talk about the last big one, are there any other small ones or not so big ones? Any trades before we talk about the last big signing that pretty much happened today?
Oh, well, yeah, there's a couple. The first one that comes to mind is the Buffalo Bills were very busy in free agency. They already
talk about Von Miller?
No, they already had a good defense, and they went and they added Von Miller as a 6-year.
I know we talked about that last week. The days are blurring together.
I know, there's so much activity going on. I'm thinking, what did we talk about last week? What happened since we last recorded? And Von continues to play at a high level, and I'm surprised he got a 6-year deal, considering he's 32 years old.
But not even just that. Well, I mean, what, 3 of those years are probably just fake years.
It's just like the Devontae Adams deal, because I think I was messaging you about it. Like, Devontae Adams really has, like, what is a 3-year, $60 million deal. And, like, all the extra money is just built in.
What I like about the Von deal is that Buffalo has a lot of young guys that can learn from Von. So that means we didn't talk about Chandler Jones we did talk about Chandler Jones. We did last week. So who else? Before we get to the big one.
The Colts and the Raiders had a trade where the Raiders sent Yannick Ngakoue to the Colts in return for cornerback Rocky Ya-Sin, which I think is a good move for both teams, because the Raiders got Chandler Jones, and they also needed some cornerback help. Now, Rocky Ya-Sin's not a world beater, but they at least have some depth at cornerback now, which is more than they had before.
Doesn't move the needle much for me, though.
And let's see what else happens.
Come on, give us something sexy.
Jameis Winston re-signs with the New Orleans Saints. How's that?
That's not super sexy. That's like, PG-13 sexy. So we'll go with it.
This one might
We'll
be PG-13. It's Miles
it's
Jack.
like American Pie on cable, American Pie on basic cable type stuff going on. Like, I mean, but something. I mean, he did play well once he started getting in his groove. Michael Thomas should be back, which means that offense should be that much better because he did all that stuff without Michael Thomas. So, it's a good move for them. Once Deshaun fell through, as long as Jameis knows not to get in his feelings about that, it should be fine. And I mean, recreate your career, do better. On that note, Miami has a new backup in the name of Teddy Bridgewater. We'll see if he plays at all. With that said, also talking about Miami, we might as well get to the big news. Teron Armstead signs with Miami. Miami has done pretty much what Cincinnati should have. I mean, I know Cincinnati did some of this. I think Miami did better because I know Cincinnati got Lyle Collins, former Dallas Cowboy right tackle, and that's an upgrade. But Teron Armstead was one of the best left tackles in the game. Mm-hmm. They have completely, and they made other signs. They got Connor Williams, who's actually very good. A lot of people in Dallas want poo-poo on him for the penalties. Is that Connor Williams, or is that what I'm talking about with the refs with Dallas? I bet you money he gets far less penalties in Miami. I bet money. But anyways, they've rebuilt their offensive line. Their offensive line looks totally different now.
Yeah, that's gonna be great for Tua Tagovailoa. That's gonna be great.
Same thing with Cincy. Their offensive line, they've been rebuilding. We'll see how that looks. I think it's better than it was last year, but they didn't do as well as Miami. Any other transactions you want to talk about?
Let's see. Trying to find something sexy for you. I don't know if I'll be able to find it.
Well, we don't have to talk about transactions. We can go forward, and before we get out of here, we can talk about how crazy is the AFC West going to be next year?
That is going to be the wild, wild West. Those I can't wait for those division games because they're going to be putting up like 60 points a game.
But are
combined. They? Take but the over. They better. With all the firepower they have, they better.
But look at the defenses. Look at the defenses, Cat Daddy. Like, goodness. Look at the pass rushers in this division.
Yep. It's going to be... I think it's going to become the best division to watch. It'll be the most watched division.
By the way,
and I'm happy I'm out west because I might be able to catch more of those games.
By the way, which AFC division does the Packers play this year?
Oh man, did they play the West?
I don't know. I think they do. I know the Cowboys don't. They played them last year.
You find out who they got. All right. The Packers get the AFC East.
Ooh. But anyways,
they get the East.
So look at just the quarterbacks. Even though, with that said, there's a lot of teams that I think made middling decisions. Here's the thing. I like Matt Ryan as quarterback. I think it was a mistake for Indy to trade for Matt Ryan.
I disagree.
No. So you think they're a quarterback away from a Super Bowl? Because that's where Matt Ryan had to go. He had to go to a team that's literally a quarterback away, and I do not think Indy's a quarterback away.
They have a good offensive line because they're going to come back healthy. They have a good running game. They just need to add a wide receiver, maybe a Leo Jones, who has experience with Matt Ryan, who's currently a free agent.
And
And
their
they have a
defensive
pretty good
secondary
defense.
is not good.
Right, but they just picked up Yannick Ngakoue to help with the edge
Defensive
pressures.
secondary is not good.
I know, but they can fill some of those pieces in.
Okay, I'm just saying, in
All I'm
comparison,
saying is Chris Ballard believes this team is a quarterback away. The past
he can
couple of
believe all he
seasons,
wants.
Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, now Matt
I
Ryan.
believe in magic doesn't make it real.
But I think it's a really good move for the Colts because if they believe they're a quarterback away, Baker wasn't going to get it done.
This works here because I disagree. Regardless if they believe it, perception is not reality.
I still think it's a good move for the Colts.
I do not. I honestly think Baker would have been a better move because at least then you would have had somewhere to build on. Matt Ryan is what he is right now. So if it doesn't happen, it is what it is.
I think if you're giving Matt Ryan a better offensive line, giving him a better running attack to take pressure off the throwing, I think he'll do better.
I'm not saying that Matt Ryan is bad. I'm just saying they're not making the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. They're not making
and the
Super Bowl,
only way you make that move is if you think you're going to make the. And I get it. They think they are.
Exactly.
But I can tell you right
key.
now, every single one of them teams in the AFC West got something to say about that. Cleveland even is going to have something to say about that. Cincinnati.
Not this year. Maybe next year.
Who, Cleveland?
Yeah.
Would you? No, I'm telling you. All right, with the whatchamacallit, I don't think it happens until 2023. I think they wait for all the cases to end.
Well, considering his salary for 2022, he's going to hope it happens this year.
But with that said, no, I think Cleveland, even with that, even that's 6 games. You know it's only going to be 6 games.
They're going to have Jacoby Brissett for the first 6 games or whatever,
and then,
6 games.
And then Baltimore, I have something to say about it. Cincinnati, Buffalo. Even, you know something? Miami might be a dark horse. And in their own division, they got to beat Tennessee. So, yeah. Moving on from them. Washington, I think, made a very middling decision to trade. Here's the thing. Tell me. I'm going to put these 3 up. Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield. Rank them.
If I were going to acquire one of those because I needed a quarterback,
Yeah.
and I'm Washington, I'm the football team.
Yeah. Commanders.
Football team, yeah. As much crap as I've given Jimmy Garoppolo over the past year,
Right.
I think I'd put Garoppolo 1.
He's 1, yes.
I would probably have Carson Wentz 2 and
Baker
then
over
Baker
Carson Wentz.
3.
I got Carson over Baker I got Baker over Carson. I'm sorry. Baker's bad is nowhere near Carson's bad.
But is Baker's good
Yes.
on par with Carson's good?
I think Baker and Carson's good is way better than Jimmy's good.
It's balancing out the ceilings and the floors.
It's just sole fact you look at, like, it's just like, but Carson's bad, which happens actually more often than Baker's bad. It really does.
Carson's bad caused Indianapolis the playoffs last year.
Second half of the year, he is booty.
Yeah.
Just bad. Just some thoughts. Just some thoughts. We need to do some QB rankings maybe or something coming up. All right. So, words of wisdom, Cat Daddy.
The words of wisdom are going to be directed to myself, and that's going to be trust the process. As much as I didn't like seeing Davante Adams traded, once that initial shock wore off, I kind of saw, all right, well, there's a lot more benefits to trading Davante. You know, we get 2 more picks in this year's draft. We just freed up $20 million in cap space to bring back some important defensive players. So trust the process.
All right, so I'm going to piggyback off of what I said earlier. So I sent my message to, players like Randy Gregory, the fans, you'd be nothing without the fans. But to the fans, still, just because these players exist for you, and that's what they do. They exist to give you entertainment. That's the job. You still gotta treat people with respect. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, you can't sit there and disrespect people just because you feel kind of upset or in your feelings about something.